Hello and welcome to DieCastRestos. It's Jason here with the 54A Saracen Personnel Carrier. The Saracen was introduced in 1958 to become the second military vehicle in the Matchbox range, following on from the 49A half-track. It was in the range until 1965. This model has certainly been through the wars. It is completely solidified with mud. The wheels barely move. Luckily the turret still moves and is still present, so I can reuse this. The axles have entirely rusted, so there's a slight bit of movement in some but not others. There's not a great deal of the original olive paintwork left over, so that will need a good fresh coat. That front axle does seem to move a little bit, so that's at least something. But all in all, not looking too good. This is going to be a real challenge. After a quick dip under a tap, look how much better it looks already. The axles look a lot better, the wheels look a lot better. Mind you, the axles don't turn still as freely as they should, especially the middle set of wheels, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was previously. The casting's looking pretty decent all round. Doesn't look like I'm going to need to give it too much attention. First job is to loosen up those wheels, so I use some trusty WD-40 to do so. I've used quite a bit here. Once they've loosened up, I will remove the crimp from the axle so I can remove the wheels. My intention is to reuse all of these axles again. I unscrew the wheel here, that comes out, and then I can just pull out the axle from the opposite side with a bit of gentle persuasion. And here I'll start cleaning up some of those axles. There's quite a lot of surface rust on this. Now the axles have been removed, I can use a 4mm drill bit to remove the two rivet posts. And then I gently do the same with the rivet holding in the turret. The only real significant casting variation in this model was the crimped axles switching over to the rounded axles early on in the production phase. Here are all the components ready for a paint strip. In they go. So the Saracen was built by Alvis under various ownership between 1952 and 1992, primarily for the British Army. It also saw significant service in Australia and South Africa. It was designated the FV603, and it's related to the Alvis Stalwart, which is also in the Matchbox range as the 61B, as well as the 67A Saladin and the 63B Foamite Crash Tender. Here I'm just giving the wheels a clean up, using some warm soapy water and a toothbrush, and I'll give each of those a coat of the Citadel Gloss Oil. Once the paint's been stripped, I can pick off the remnants using a dental tool. It's been fairly decent at removing all of the leftover paint this time round. The base was in a pretty bad condition to begin with. There's a few clumps of paint left over, but I do my best that I possibly can with this and get rid of the residue. Saracens could carry 8 soldiers at a time, plus a troop commander, as well as the driver and the commander of the vehicle. So that's 11 people on the go at any one time. They carried a turret on the roof. Most of them had an M1919 Browning machine gun attached. But there were other variations of machine gun that were used as well, and anti-aircraft equipment. And they were powered by a Rolls-Royce engine. Here I'm doing all I can to try and polish up the base using my rotary tool, and I'd previously been doing the same with the main body. But already you can see it's come quite a long way from where we started. I did think I'd have to make some serious modifications to the model to get it to work, but it all came together in the end. Here I noticed that there was a slight imperfection in the body. There's a slight chunk that had been taken out of it and it needed flattening out. So to do this, I just tap it with my hammer against my flat-headed screwdriver, and then I apply some model filler to fill in the gaps. On goes a layer of the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer in light grey. It's starting to look a lot more complete. And you can pick out some of the nice details on the bodywork there. And I'll give the same treatment to the base portion. I'm just sure to cover all areas that are exposed and not waste any on the interior. And then a quick spray over the turret. My colour of choice for this model was the Tamiya TS5 Olive Drab. Slightly darker than the original, but I feel a bit more realistic. And I'd also had to resort to using my garage thanks to the very unpredictable British summertime. And it was at this point I realised I hadn't smoothed off the area that I'd filled. So I carried on spraying the rest of the bodywork and would have to revisit the main portion of the body shell. But from here you can see just how nicely that colour comes out after one coat. I think it's a better colour and a bit more realistic, say, than the original dark green kind of colour it came in. So here is the model that I need to file down. Can't believe that I missed it first time round. I'd gone through priming and then some painting before I'd realised. So I use my file and then a touch of very fine sandpaper. And then after repainting, I can actually begin the reassembly phase. So in goes the turret. All this needs is a bit of force to push it back into place, and then it returns to its original form, free moving. It doesn't need any more coaxing into position, it literally just clipped back in. I was really pleased with the outcome with that, because I didn't need to tap in the rivet or anything, as you can see there. Now I'll reattach the base to the upper part, just lining up both rivet posts. And of course this needs to be done so I have access to the rivets and the screws prior to putting the axles back on. They've all come up quite nicely, you can see there. No rust remaining on them. Then I use my needle nose pliers to clamp down on the ends of those crimped axles. And then the ends of the axles get a touch of chrome paint. And that is that for today. Here is the original model. Still coated in mud. Looking a bit sorry for itself. It's definitely been outside in the war zone, fighting some battles. It looks like it's lost a few, to be fair. A bit of body damage that I'd failed to notice and sand down. But the details of the Saracen were completely lost in this thick coating of mud, chipped paintwork, and generally looking a bit forlorn. Those rusted axles really not doing it any favours either. So here I took it out of the battlefield and into the museum, I think. And this is what she looks like now. With that realistic coat of olive drab. It's looking a great deal better. Nicely polished up wheels. That turret sitting there proudly on top. All of those nice little details you can pick out. And just look at the chrome on the ends of those axles. I'm really pleased with the job I've done on this one. If I don't say so myself, very modest as ever. So yeah, I'm really actually quite pleased with this model. It's one of my favourites that I've restored, considering the initial condition. If you've liked it too, please like, share, subscribe, and check out my Patreon if you haven't already. And it just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.